So the reason government, so they're actually connected. So the connect phase that we deploy, it's for the it's for the leaders to know, first of all, amongst themselves, what the common vision is and what their behaviors need to be. So it establishes a clarity and common definition of project success in the leadership team to empower them to mobilize and change and engage their team. So this is what the connect phase is about, is they understand at the end of the connect phase, every leader knows the behaviors they're supposed to demonstrate specifically in terms of how to drive the change forward and why we're driving the change forward. The reason it is so hard in government is multifaceted. So the number one reason is government is quite politically driven. So the imagine if in a corporate environment your owner's team changed every 4 years. So you're right, the elections change every 4 years. And imagine if your budget was uncertain. So I've worked in government organizations where they don't know their current year's budget until October of the year they're in, and March is the end of the fiscal. It's a very, very stressful way to be. There's a lot of uncertainty even amongst the leadership teams. So getting them together, because this was one of my challenges, is I had to get agencies that had nothing to do with each other, and I had to drive policy level change. So for example, adult day programs, the government decided to centralize adult day programs, where an adult day program is where older adults get to go have a relax during the day while their caregivers are away. And so now they said, oh no, Bob can't just walk into your adult day program because he lives in the neighborhood. Bob has to apply to this centralized agency, and the centralized agency will do a wait listing and a criteria and then decide whether Bob gets to go to your adult day program. And that's the kind of change that I was responsible for implementing and facilitating. So obviously it'd be arrogant for me to say I was implementing it. I was facilitating that. I was responsible for finding the motivations of 17 adult day programs, and then to bringing them to the table, and my CEO at the time saying, what is your level of certainty that they're not going to balk at it, and I'd have to have a pretty high level of certainty. So I did it the hard way, where I worked on stakeholder engagement with every adult day program to bring it on. The digital adoption piece, long-term care homes, digitizing their paperwork from old paper-based forms. And, once again, I thought, wow, look at me, we did a great job. Our implementation is great. But then you go to some adult day programs and you see them using sticky notes. So you have these electronic reports going to them electronically, the paperwork's going electronically. They print 45 pages, take sticky notes, and then put them on top of the adult day program. So really, at the end of the day, government change is where I cut my teeth, and I was forced to drive change there. And the clarifying vision and getting leadership connected was completely missing from when I first. Yeah, and I think the biggest uncertainty, Nathan, is not even just government changing, but because government is highly driven by people's perceptions. So my favorite and least favorite group of people that I have a lot of empathy for is people who work for cities. So we have, any city has these human representatives of different wards, and a ward member could show up at a meeting and just make a comment like, oh, my road wasn't paved. When was the last time my road was paved? Just something simple like that. And then the poor infrastructure services is in a tizzy trying to figure out, oh my God, let me go get that data and let me go get the report and all that kind of stuff. They don't have the ability to do their jobs normally. It is a pretty chaotic working in government is extremely chaotic because it's just perception based. Minister of Mines could just make an ad hoc comment and not even mean anything by it. But then there's a whole bunch of work that happens in the background to try and make sure that we satisfied that need. So any industry where there's a high degree of perception, where perception has a huge value. So government, there's a huge value in perception. And that is really why it was so difficult to make change. But here's the thing, Nathan, that I learned. So I just thought of it. Because I understood that government was highly perception driven, I was successfully able to leverage the said perception of various agencies later in my career when I first started Pace Global to define and create proposals and get projects funded. Because what makes something not work also makes something work. So because perception government is really highly motivated by perception, I was able to, I learned the strategy of connecting initiatives to what their said strategies were. And so that is how you actually get them to make changes, the fear of perception, of being perceived poorly. And that is why it's the worst kind of place to do proper change management in. But also, if you know how to leverage it, you can do it really well.